What's going on, guys? It's Mike over here at Monroe Hill Farm. Today we're going to be discussing apple trees, kind of what you need to look out for when you get ready to buy some, how these things work, how we plant them, how they pollinate each other, things like that. So give you guys a little bit more information before you go out to the store and just buy these things and end up making a mistake. So, hey, I like my microphone. 1970s is back, baby. All right, guys, so basically what happened is I have two apple trees that are currently planted on the property that I put in about 2 years ago. I'm not quite sure what happened to one of them, but it snapped in half. I don't know if the wind got it or what. Did make a simple mistake that you guys don't need to make, which is make sure you get a stake for these things and stake them in the ground, preventing this from happening. So I'm gonna turn the camera around, kind of show you guys my process of how I do apple trees. I don't claim by any means to be an apple expert. This is just my way of how I do it here on our farm. So let's take a look at these trees and kind of our process on what we do to put these things in the ground. All right, guys, so I've got two apple trees, like I said, that I'm planting today. One of them is going to be the Granny Smith apple tree. And the other one over there is the Yellow Delicious apple, I believe is what it is. Yellow sweet apple, something like that. We'll look at it here in a minute. But basically, you're going to want to dig your hole 2 times. So the circumference of this hole needs to be 2 times the width or diameter of your actual root ball. So just make sure you dig that out wide enough. What that's going to do is give your roots room to actually spread out and get strong before they hit your hard soil. Here in Mississippi, we have a lot of clay. So what I do here is I actually scratch the side surfaces of these walls pretty good, so that when those roots grow out and spread and they hit that side wall, they're going to be able to penetrate that clay. That way they can get off to a good start. So basically dig your hole out, and then I like to take, obviously I don't want to use 100% garden soil. So I'm not going to put this tree in there and then fill this hole up with garden soil and consider it done. My recommendation is to always take your native soil that I dug out of this hole and mix it with this garden soil until you get a good mixture together that you put in there. So I'm going to get the apple tree out of its container now and kind of set it down in the hole, and I'll show you what my mixture ratio is. All right, so we got the tree in the hole, and basically you just want to make sure that the top of this root ball in the tree is not below the ground. You don't want it to be sunk all the way down in the ground, and therefore it's probably just going to root rot on you. So I usually try to leave about a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch above the actual ground surface, so that it doesn't just drown the plant. It's kind of sitting up above it. You want a lot of that moisture, extra moisture in the ground to sink down below it. So definitely don't, like I said, don't sink the tree down in the ground too far, or it's going to cause root rot. So basically what I do is I take the dirt and put it in this bucket, and then just keep mixing the soil in with the actual native dirt. Fill a bucket up all the way. I would probably do 1/2 and 1/2 in this bucket. Fill it all the way up, and then put it in your hole, and just keep doing that process until you've got a full hole. So I'm going to go ahead and start that process off. We'll get the dirt in the bucket, put the soil in there, mix it around a little bit, and then throw it in the hole. All right, so that's where we're at once we get it mixed and filled up. I don't pack it down. I kind of let nature do what nature does. You know, I'm not going to get rid of this dirt pile right here for a couple of days. We're going to water this thing down real good and let all that dirt settle in. And you know, we may have to top this off a little bit as that soil, you know, condenses down and packs in itself. So I mean, that's it. You know, you do want to come back with a mulch and create a mulch bed. I'll show you over on one of my other trees what I've done to kind of create a little water moat for the tree, so water will kind of settle in the middle of that moat. We'll walk over there here in a minute and I'll show you that. But now I'm going to discuss selecting apple trees and what you need to look out for. All right, so just a little information about apple trees. For those of you that kind of are looking to do apple trees, you know, I know some of you guys may know way more than I know, but from the research I've done, this is what I found out. Each apple tree has a number associated with it, whether it be a 1, 2, or a 3. And what that is going to signify is which week it actually blooms. You have a 6-week period that apple trees actually develop their bloom. The number 1 is the first 2 weeks. The number 2 tree is the next 2 weeks. And the number 3 tree is the next 2 weeks of that 6 weeks. So the number 1 tree is going to be the first one to bloom. The 2 is going to be the next following 2 weeks, it'll bloom. And then the 3 will be the third 2 weeks, it'll bloom. So that's basically what the numbers mean. Now, what you have to pay attention to when you're buying a tree is it should have a number with it. And a 1 can't pollinate a 3, a 2 can't pollinate a 1. They have to be the same. So when you're selecting your tree, make sure that those numbers match. Otherwise, they are not going to pollinate each other and you will not bear any fruit. So what I've got is 3s. So as you can see, those are 3s. So all of my apple trees that I have here on the property are all 3s. So they are going to cross-pollinate one another, which apple trees do require. Apple trees cannot be pollinated by pear trees. They cannot be pollinated by peach trees. They have to be pollinated by another apple tree with the same number. So I hope that makes sense, guys, but you know, it's something to watch out for, because if you go to the Apple store, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or your local nursery, wherever, and you just start grabbing apple trees, loading them in the car, bringing them home and planting them, you're going to be disappointed when it comes time for those trees to have fruit on them, when you realize that I've got a 2 and a 1 or a 1 and a 3, and that's why I'm not getting any fruit. So it'd be a big waste of money. So just watch out for that. I'm gonna go ahead and get this other tree in the ground, and then we'll show you how I mowed up the mulch and go from there, guys. All right, guys, hey, if you found this video useful at all, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below for future videos coming out here on the farm. Definitely hit that like button. I'd certainly appreciate it. I'm going to show you kind of the little moat of mulch that I built around my other trees, just so that when it does rain, that water will collect in that little moat and get down into the root system. So we'll flip the camera around and show you that. I did want to mention that, and I haven't tried this, that a crabapple tree is supposed to be very beneficial for apple trees. Like I said, I haven't tried this, but they say that if you put a crabapple tree out with other apple trees, that it will pollinate 1s, 2s, and 3s. So, you know, that's an option. I haven't tried it, never attempted it, so I can't tell you 100% for sure whether that works or not. But I can tell you that's what some old farmers have told me. So, you know, if you do go to the store and you've already bought 1s and 2s and you're wondering why you don't have fruit on your apple trees, maybe go buy a crab apple, stick it in there with them, and, you know, see if the following year, if you get a return out of them. So worth a shot. Anyway, we'll check this mulch out. All right, so we're over here by one of my other apple trees, and that's the mulch moat I'm talking about. So you kind of want to build a bank of mulch up and leave that middle lower. So when it rains, that little area in the middle will gather some water and feed down into the root system. So I would definitely do that, moat system around all your trees. Shoot, for that matter, shrubs, bushes, blueberry bushes, whatever you do. I mean, that's what I've done with all of mine. So you can see the blueberries and plum trees back there. That's what I've done with all of them. So that's what I'd do if I were you. Definitely will help keep moisture in the soil. Hey, as far as caring for these things, the first year is pretty much the most crucial. You want to make sure that soil stays moist that first year. So you want to consistently make sure that the soil is moist around the root system of the tree. After that first year, you just twice a week, something like that, just make sure it's staying moist. But that's pretty much it. I mean, the first year is pretty crucial that you make sure these things are staying wet. So that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I gave you some information maybe you didn't have before, and increased your knowledge, because that's what it's all about. Homesteading and farming, I feel like everybody should be willing to reach out a hand and teach somebody something. So hopefully somebody out there learned something from this, and we'll catch you guys next time. Later.